Good afternoon, everyone. Chris Berryman here, Coalition Builder and founder of Bringing Humanity Together. Here are my two great partners and mentors, Carla Fedigan for Humanity Happy Hour, which is on Thursday, and today it's going to be hosted by none other than Sandy Chernoff. This is one of three open forums under the Bringing Humanity Together umbrella where people can discuss topics about the workplace and humanity in the workplace in a very positive and constructive way. We want to know what the issues are, both not only employees but also probably employers are facing, because it is our goal to both work with employees and employers to bring humanity back to the workforce. We'll also be going live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, all at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, except for Wednesdays we have a meet and greet at 2:45. Please feel to invite your friends, coworkers, dogs, cats, whoever. Bring them on. We would love to hear from everybody. And also, if you share the replay, use the hashtag replay, and we would love to also hear from you when you watch the replay and let us know where you're from. Like I said, Tuesdays is always Share and Care with Sandy. Conversations for Humanity is hosted by me. Thursdays hosted with Carla Fedigan for Humanity Happy Hour. And as you jump on, feel free to comment, ask any questions. If you also want to be a part of the live stream, we will put the live stream link in the chat here, whether it be on YouTube, on Twitter, or also on LinkedIn Live, or even on Facebook. And we would love to hear from you. And like I say, if you do the hashtag replay, please also let us know when you are watching them too, even on the replay. So here's my two great friends and mentors, Carla Fedigan and Sandy Chernoff. Sandy, take it away. What is on tap for us today for Share and Care?
Well, I think we want to, again, look at how the internal aspect of businesses are run. And once again, just because somebody has the idea for a business, even if it's an interesting and good idea for a business, it doesn't mean that they're going to be a good boss. And unless they get training, there are some people that are actually good at this naturally. They just are. They know how to talk to people. They know how to handle people well. But those people are few and far between. And a lot of people, and one of the reasons why so many small businesses fail is because the person who's running it doesn't know how to deal with people very effectively, doesn't know how to hire, doesn't know how to manage them well. And therefore, there's a lot of turnover and, they don't make money and it's very difficult. So it's very important for them to commit to and create and take part in what is going to be a positive, respectful, encouraging, supportive, and acknowledging kind of internal culture. And if they can develop that and maintain it and model it, because it's very important that the people that you work with see that you're committed to it by showing that you demonstrate those behaviors yourself. And if you do, you're far more likely to have the people that work with you to model those things. If you don't, then why would they care? Because that's how they look at it. Obviously, you don't care, so why should I care?
It's like yelling at them and saying, you better be nice to everybody.
Exactly, Carla. So, they have to walk the walk. It's fine to talk the talk. It's very nice. But if you aren't committed to it and don't do it yourself, then it's not believable. Yeah. It's really not. And organizations that have a good culture, those are the organizations that thrive. And again, it has to be the leadership team that commit to that culture. And again, they've got to demonstrate it and they've got to commit to it. And if they do, they have a far better chance of keeping their people and of getting a win-win situation, because the supportive aspect of it, for example, is offering your people training. And the training would provide them with enhancing the skills they already have, maybe upgrading them or, whatever, and offering them new skills that maybe they didn't have, which will provide them with the chance to have some new responsibilities, which offers them challenges and keeps them engaged. And maybe down the road, if they learn some new things, they will even get a raise in pay or be offered a promotion because they have the ability to do some other things within the organization. And when that happens, people feel valued because the organization is making an investment in them because they're paying for the training. And that makes you feel really good. Because I told you, I mean, that was one of the things my dad did, and we all loved it. I mean, we would go to these courses and we would have a wonderful time because it would be away somewhere, and we'd be in a hotel and out for dinner at restaurants and, whatever. And it was fun, and it was interesting, and it was beneficial. And we would always have a meeting afterwards and talk about the things that we learned at the conference or at the course so that we could incorporate them into what we did in the office. And there's nothing wrong with having that kind of, feedback afterwards so that you find out, in fact, what the person took away from the training and how it's going to benefit the organization, because it is a win-win for everybody. The person who gets their skills enhanced has, better self-esteem and more creativity and usually better skills, so they're going to do better work. So it's a win-win for them, and it's a win-win for the organization because they're going to benefit from what this person is doing. So it's just a matter of looking at the big picture, if you will. And a lot of people don't know how to do that. They're not big picture thinkers. And so they miss opportunities. And again, when someone is listened to, when they actually are heard because they have an idea of how to do something a little bit differently, and, the people on the front lines are probably the ones who will come up with something that's going to work better, and they should be listened to. And if they are, they will continue to provide creative ideas, and that way we won't miss opportunities. But if they bring things up and nobody listens to them and they poo-poo it and, whatever, then they won't, yeah, that's right. And they will never bring up another idea. And they also feel disrespected when that happens. And after a while, you say, you've had enough of it. Now, we know that people get stuck because if they have financial responsibilities and they aren't sure that they can get another job right away, they're going to stay in the job even though they're unhappy. But if they have the chance to look around and find something else, they're going to be out of there in a flash. So it's just a matter of, what are you doing? How are you running your business? Are you providing an environment that is going to attract good people and keep good people? Or are you providing an environment that's going to push people away and not have, new people come that want to work with you, because the rumors will be out there that this is a bad place to work. Mm-hmm. So it's really important that be done. And it's really, really important that the leadership create this, maintain it, and commit to it. And they show their commitment by demonstrating the types of behaviors that they want other people to employ. I mean, for example, if a leader makes a mistake, he shouldn't be covering it up, okay? Instead, he should just be really honest and say, guys, I am so sorry. That was my mistake. Here's what I'm going to do to fix it. And I'm so sorry that it inconvenienced you, because that certainly wasn't my intention. But unfortunately, I made a bad decision. And that's the reason why we're suffering with this. But I'm going to take care of it. And I'm not blaming any of you. It was my fault. Well, if a leader says that, I mean, people are going to say, oh boy, admitted that he was wrong, whatever. And if that happens, so the next time one of them screws up, and again, human beings are very imperfect creatures. Mistakes are going to be made. But if they aren't handled in a supportive and encouraging way, people will cover up those mistakes, which can cause way more problems. But if instead it's handled, so Chris, looks like we have a little problem here. What do you think happened? And then we can sit down and talk about it in private. You don't talk about that in front of other people. You go into the boss's office or into your office if you have one, and we talk about it. So why do you think that happened? What did you do that made that occur? Okay, so how do you think we should fix this? What do you think should be done? So do you think you can handle that yourself? Because if not, you come back and I'll help you. But before you go, the next time you're presented with that sort of situation, what else do you think you can do so that we don't end up with what we've ended up with now? And we can talk about that. Okay, well, now you run along and you fix this. And again, if you run into any snags and you need help, you come back to me and I'm here to help you. Absolutely. So, if it's handled in that way where it's done privately and it's done in a supportive and encouraging way, then the next time that person has a problem, they're not going to feel bad about going to the boss or to the manager who helped them last time, because they know that they're going to get the help that they need, and that they're not going to be yelled at and finger pointed and blamed and, whatever. And so they're not going to cover up the screw up. They're going to go and get some help so they can fix it, and they'll feel comfortable doing that. So it totally depends how those issues are handled. And again, if they are handled in a positive, supportive, encouraging manner, then people will not feel horrible, because, when somebody makes a mistake, they feel bad. But if we encourage them to fix it and offer them help to do so, then they won't. But if you yell at them and you finger point and you blame, they will just go back and make more mistakes, because they're feeling so bad they can't concentrate and they can't think straight, so they're going to make more mistakes. So it just turns into a big mess. So it's really, really important that we do things that are going to help our people, that are going to support them, that are going to respect their efforts. And if that's done by the leadership, then they're going to have a good, solid team of people who aren't going to want to go anywhere. And again, like I've mentioned before, when people are very happy with where they work and proud of where they work, I don't think you need to worry about customer service, because they're going to want the clients to keep coming back, and they're going to want to keep them happy. So they're going to do everything they possibly can to make sure that the people that come to them for your products or your services are going to walk away happy, so that they'll come back again and maybe even refer other people to us. So it's just a matter of, what are we doing? And you can teach people about customer service, and that is the kind of workshops that you can offer your people as well. And there's nothing wrong with doing that, especially in certain industries where there are a lot of difficult people that you have to deal with. But it's just a matter of, sort of, again, big picture thinking. And if you can think in the bigger picture, you have a far better chance of helping the people that you work with and keeping them satisfied and feeling respected and feeling listened to. And those things they're all good things. And again, it's not that hard to do. It's just a matter of understanding how to do it. And as I already said, there are some people that are naturally good at this, but unfortunately, there's not too many of those. And if a leader doesn't want to learn how to be a good leader, there's nothing you can do. You might as well go over there and bang your head against the wall. We can't make people do things they don't want to do. But if somebody realizes that they've backed themselves into a corner and they're having trouble, then they should probably get a business coach or look online for some different kinds of courses and get some help. And if they want to fix it and they are positive about fixing themselves, then there's no reason why they can't be fixed. Because, this stuff is not rocket science. I mean, it's really not. It's just learning how to be a better communicator, and to support people in a more positive way, and all those kinds of things. And if you can learn how to do that, you're going to be a really good leader, because people are going to appreciate you. They're going to respect you because you respect them. All this kind of stuff goes two ways. It's just like Chris always says, if I help you and you help me, we help we. And that's how it works. And, if the leader is helpful to you, then you'll be helpful to them. And then business wins. So, again, this is not rocket science, but it's a matter of understanding that it's very, very, very important that the leadership team commit to helping the people they work with. And if they can do that, everybody wins. I mean, again, this is not rocket science, but you got to talk. You can talk about it, but you got to walk the walk. You don't want to walk the walk. You don't want to take action. Nothing's going to happen. And you won't keep a lot of your people, because if they're not happy, ultimately they'll look for something else and they'll leave. And turnover is very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Because it burdens the ones who are left, and you have to take time to train the new ones. And, it's a mess. So you don't want to go there. But that's one of the reasons why so many businesses fail, because they haven't got good leadership. And again, if people want to learn how to be a good leader, if they want to know what the skills and the approaches and the strategies are, then there's no reason why they can't, because there's plenty of opportunities out there. There are some excellent, excellent business coaches out there. I know a few. And they're really good because what they do is they challenge you. You know, they give you some ideas and then they challenge you to do some of these things. And then you give them feedback because they want to see how you're doing. And it's again, it's not that hard, but you have to want to.
Yeah. Hey, Sandy, I brought up a question. You were talking about there's some great business coaches out there. What do you feel, because they're a dime a dozen. They're all over LinkedIn. There's so many of them. And if you're looking for a business coach, it's hard to choose because it might be just a referral. What in your mind is something that really resonates with you what would stand out to you to say, this is a great business coach?
Well, I know 3 that are very good.
And what makes them stand out?
What makes them stand out is that, first of all, they sit down with this, with their new prospect, if you will, and they want to find out what they're trying to do. What do they want to do? What do they want to learn? What do they think they need? Those kinds of things. And then they give them a bit of a program, and then they challenge them. They give them opportunities to show that they actually are doing the things that they're teaching them to do. And they, it's kind of interesting to watch them. And I met these guys through a networking organization that I belonged to for a few years. And they also gave a couple of talks during, the time at these organizations. And it was very interesting to see their approach. And their approach was supportive and it was respectful, but it also challenged them a lot to try these things and to do these things and then to tell them the outcomes. So they gave them a lot of challenges. I want you to try this and let's see how that goes. And next week when we get together, I want you to tell me how that went. So they give them specific things to try. And then they get the feedback from them to find out if they actually did it and how it worked. And then they start to see that if they do the things that the business coach is telling them, that they will get better results. And so they will pay attention to this person because obviously they're offering them good options. But there are lots of people out there, Carla, you're right. And to be honest with you, I don't think a lot of them are that good. But these 3 guys that I know, they are very good. And they're very supportive. And they also tell the person, if you've got a question, if there's something that doesn't seem to be working right, call me. Here's my card. You just call me. I'll be very happy to answer your questions or whatever. So when you know that they're there as your backup, you sort of, are ready to just, jump off by yourself.
Well, they're there to help you be successful and not just say, here's the workbook, go do the workbook, ask me, let me know if you have any questions. They're actually saying, letting you know the pitfalls along the way and what to do and actually giving you like homework to challenge you to pick up on new principles. Yeah.
And I think that because of their approach in this way, it's very helpful to people who want to learn and want to try some new things. And I think that, they are successful because of the approach they use and because they are very supportive and encouraging of the business people that they coach.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like a call to action that they give at the end of each little section so we're going to take this concept and we're going to go out and integrate it into your system. And it kind of separates the men from the boys because I do a lot of different training in what I do. And, whether it be social media or reaching out or communication or listening or whatever. And there's always a little something to do. And I find that those that don't take the 5 minutes or so or take the time it takes to actually integrate something, they're not there. They're just there to be there. If you're really serious about it, you have to implement it and do that call to action and actually put it into use every day.
And do the follow-up so that you know that they're actually doing it and that they're getting the results. Because if they're getting the results, they will continue to do it. So it's just a matter of giving them the opportunity.
Changing your health if you do The homework, you get the results you want, and you go, oh yeah, this is the right thing to do. Okay.
This
Yeah.
does work.
No, but it's true. It's if you're in a business and you're trying to integrate new principles because you want your business to be the best that it can be, you've got to do the do.
Yeah.
You've got to learn new things. You've got to figure out why it's not working and say, this isn't working for me. If you have to, hire a coach that's going to say, hey, these are what the problems are. It's like what we're doing. These are your problems you may have in communication. What do you see are the issues you want to address? These are some of the things that we feel like we need to address, and set up a unique program for them, and actually have them do the do. Because it's not until you make those changes that you're ever going to see any change in your business.
Well, that's why the business coach has to do the follow-up. You got to give them a challenge, and then the next week or a few days later, you say, so how did that go? Did that work? Okay, it didn't work. Why do you think it didn't work? Did you do what we discussed? Well, okay. Well, then if you didn't follow, what we talked about, then that's probably the reason why it failed. So
Right.
Do you want to try it again, or do you want to try something different? What would you like to do? So it's also a matter of working with the individual and helping them to move forward. And so it can't, again, generic stuff doesn't work, Carla.
No, it doesn't.
It's got to be specific for the person. So what they're looking for and what they need in order to implement it successfully. And it's up to the business coach to speak to them and learn who they are and where they're coming from, and how to deal with them appropriately, which buttons to press, and so on and so forth. And if they can figure that out, then they can be successful with that person, so that that person will be successful. And again, this is not rocket science, but the really good business coaches, that's how they approach things. They
Right.
really figure out what the person needs in order to improve their business, and gives them the strategies and the approaches that they should implement, and then challenges them to do so, and then does the follow-up. So how did that work? Did you try that? So did that work better? Okay, well, we're good. Let's carry on and do something else now. And it's just a matter, again, of giving them some different strategies and approaches and skills so that they can manage their business more successfully and have happier employees. And if they can do that, they're going to have a successful, long-lasting business, and everybody's going to be happy. But it's just a matter of learning how to do it. And that's why sometimes you have to get a coach.
Chris, we'll let you get a word in edgewise here.
Go ahead.
What also comes up for me too as well, ladies, is maybe we can find something they don't necessarily see themselves. Maybe they're just either blind, or it's like what we said earlier, caller, before we got on the call. They don't know what they don't know.
Mhm.
And if we can show them that, in which we will be able to do that to the best of our ability, because like I said, again, it's not our business, it's their business. We're here to help them and guide them and get them to where they need to go. But what we've done, we all agree on, is our experience matters. What we've done in the past matters. But it's going to lead us into a new trajectory when we embrace what the possibility there is moving forward. Because if you've done things, and it's like the old adage, throw mud on the wall and see if it sticks. Well, who wants to go down that route? I mean, does it really work? No. Does it really stick? No. That's why it's called mud, because it does slide, And I just see, ladies, that there's a better way to do things, a better way to approach things. It's just like what me and Carla love so much about John C. Maxwell is he says, let the best idea win.
Mhm.
And if you show them a great idea that they can embrace upon and be foundationalized in that very mindset and principle, they can say, hey, wait a minute. I didn't see it from that angle. Wow.
Well, why would I want to go and reinvent the wheel when someone else has been down that path and they know a better way of doing it? Why not listen to them and try it out? It's certainly easier than reinventing it. It's like somebody handing you a paper that hey, here, go ahead and use it, and go, oh no, I'll write my own. Who wants to do that? Not that I promote plagiarism or anything like that. I just realized that, but it's a gift. Somebody's giving you a gift. Try it.
So read it.
It works.
That is what we're going
Don't
to
go
do.
beat your head against the wall.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do, ladies. We are literally going to share people the gifts that we have. And once we share that gift with others, it's maybe through the very smallest things that we'll do with them to say, hey, this is going to lead you to the biggest impacts. And then once they really see that, their eyes are going to just light up and like, oh,
The light bulb goes off.
The aha moment, Chris.
yeah. and see, and that's what gears me up every single day about what we're slowly progressing into things, and as we are, because like I said, I do see those aha moments before us, and
that's why I do what I do. I love to see that light bulb go off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I like live sessions, Carla.
Oh, yeah.
It's harder to see that in webinars,
Like,
but it's just
I get it.
But it's the one-on-one coaching that you can do on Zoom or Skype or whatever. Then you can still do that because you can see them directly, and you can see when they have their aha moments or when they're looking confused. Any of those kinds of things.
Or you see them thinking.
Yeah.
The wheels are turning.
The wheels are turning. Yeah.
I much prefer to do a Zoom over a phone call any day of the week because you can really connect with personalities.
You got to see them. You got to see what's going on, and you can't tell that very easily over the phone.
Yeah.
So it is important to have those conversations in a situation where the two of you can sit down and really have a deep conversation and
For sure.
What they need.
So let me ask you this then, Sandy. From your experience of being in the realm of soft skills and communication and leadership, do you see a big disconnect in the places that you went out and done some things at, as far as consulting is concerned, to where that very person that you say, well, you have to do X, Y, and Z, they turn around right back around and say, oh, we've done it this way, we don't need to do this, and that kind of thing. Have you seen the really big disconnect to where the need is there for them to change, but they're reluctant to go into that very change?
Well, that tech guy, that company that I went to, boss had no interest whatsoever in walking the walk. He would talk, and he'd read some of the books, but he wasn't implementing anything because he didn't think he needed to. He figured he knew everything and what he was doing was right. But his managers didn't feel that way. And the HR manager certainly didn't feel that way. And he lost a lot of people in the end. And I told you, the guy who bought the company from him is more of a control freak than he is. So they've lost a lot of people.
Wow.
That's very good. I mean, the managers that I trained, some of them were very good. They were smart guys, and they were very good. But they were unhappy because they weren't being treated nicely. I mean, they really weren't. They were just getting, yelled at and finger pointed and blamed for a whole bunch of things, some of which they hadn't even done. Some of it was what he did. And, it just doesn't make you feel comfortable. And so, because they were really good at what they did, most of them didn't have trouble finding another job. And so leave. And
well, the best time to find a new job is when you still have a job.
Mm-hmm, exactly. But, even the HR manager left.
Wow.
He was, she showed me some of the emails he sent to her. And, I looked at them and I went, you got to be kidding. I mean, if you want to write that down because you're angry, okay, write it down. Do not send it.
Hey, I had somebody, this is where I used to work. She sent out a blanket email. To everybody, the physicians, the lab director. Everybody, top to bottom. It was reply all, send to all.
Yeah.
About how somebody had stolen her lunch out of the refrigerator, and by God, I want my lunch back in the refrigerator. And I was like, oh my Lord.
Yeah, get a life.
It's amazing what people do.
And he, a lot of it was in caps, so the email is yelling at.
Okay. So I never knew what all caps was when we started getting into, using computers and sending emails and stuff. And somebody replied to everybody about, don't you ever talk to me in upper caps. It wasn't me. And I'm like, hey, Nancy, what's this thing about upper caps? She goes, I don't know. I had to ask my teenagers about it. It's something about they think you're yelling at them. I'm like, oh, Lord.
Exactly. That's what it looks like in an email. It looks like you're yelling at them in an email. And it's just a matter of when you send someone an email, you're not there when they read it. So you don't know how they're interpreting it.
Well, thank God LOL came along in all caps.
Yeah.
Like,
But
get over it.
that's fair enough. But it's just, it's a matter of, it's just not the right way. And I tell people, if you're angry, sometimes writing things down is a good thing to do, and look at it on your paper, but
I think go for a walk.
Do not send it to anyone.
Yeah.
Delete it. Okay, you got it out. You're happy with it. Delete it. Do not send it.
Just do it in Word and delete it, because if you do it in email and you inadvertently hit send, you're screwed.
Yeah, absolutely you are. So it's a matter of understanding that those kinds of things are just, it's not nice. It's not acceptable. No. And all it does is cause more angst.
Yeah.
And that's the last thing anybody needs is more angst. And you shouldn't be yelling at people in person or in emails.
Or punishing the whole class for the transgressions of one.
Yeah, that doesn't work either.
It doesn't work.
It's a matter of, how are you dealing with your people? Are you not dealing with them in a nice, respectful way? Because if you're not, you're in doo-doo.
Let me ask you this then, and I'll start with you, Carla, and I'll throw it over to Sandy. Then, do we actually let our emotions get the best of us, that we actually lash out because of ego or the negative or whatever? Have you really, especially in your place of industry, Carla, being in the RN nursing practitioner stuff, have you seen that really pull well? That, like you said, we'll just yell at everybody, even though one person did it. I mean,
there are people, I don't care whether you're in leadership or not, there are a lot of people, not myself included, that don't have emotional maturity, and they will be lashing out at God and everybody. And it's just not mature. It's just not the right thing to do. Go out and take a walk or something, blow off steam, go sit in your car for 30 minutes, whatever.
Go outside and yell.
You don't make a spectacle of yourself in front of everybody. And if you're in leadership, that's a double no-no in my book.
Yeah.
Like, to me, I'm just like, hey, I just totally lost all respect for you. I will be nice to you, but, you just don't do that. After 40 years, I've learned the type of leader, if I were ever to go into leadership in healthcare, which I probably won't anymore, since I love the leadership I'm doing now in my own business and my own team. I know how to treat people. I want to treat people the way that I would like to be treated, and I treat everybody with respect. I don't go blowing off the handle. I mean, my husband and I, Chris, you know my husband, Jim, we have never had an argument.
Yeah,
like people do, that have these knockdown, drag out arguments. We may not be like connecting some days, and it's just like, okay, just drop it, just like, okay, he's tired, he might be a little grumpy, whatever. But I would never go, well, what in the heck are you talking to me like that for? We just don't do that. Exactly. Because we respect one another. I respect people that I work with. I respect my clients. I respect my teammates. You just don't.
It's not a win-win situation. You do that, you piss people off.
Oh, yeah.
You piss them off, why would they like you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's very disrespectful. It's very inappropriate. And to be honest with you, it's very immature.
Yeah. Well, I'm not one that has to feel like I have to be liked by everybody. I've been in work situations where there have been people out wanting to undermine me and burn me because I won't play their games. But, and I realize I don't worry about what anybody thinks about me, really. What you see is what you get. I am who I am. I know what I stand for. I know what I believe in. And I treat everybody else with kindness and respect. But I don't have to be liked by everybody. So yes, it's nice to be polite, to be liked by people, but I'm not. If there's somebody in the workplace that really doesn't like me, that's okay. I'll be respectful to them and polite to them, because that's just who I am.
And ladies, I'm just so glad you're bringing this topic up about doing the right thing, because when you do the right thing, you can't go wrong with right. And there's always a good way to approach things, and of course, as we've seen it, there's always a bad way to approach things. And you're right, Carla. I'm 100% there with you. If you're in a place of leadership and you literally go off the deep end in front of everybody, we may have to say, I will do what I need to do, but that's
so for me, okay, so if you're in a place of leadership, as in you've been employed to be in this position to work with a team and make sure your team does well, to me that's like employment leadership. But I personally believe that everybody can be a leader. Everybody can lead by example. And everybody should do the right thing. There was something last week. My husband and I we were walking on the beach, and we were talking about something we had heard. I can't even remember what it was in the news or whatever. And I said, why is it so difficult for people to do what's right? Nobody does what's right anymore. They do what's convenient.
What they want to.
They do what they want to do. Whether it's right or wrong, it's what they're going to do. I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
But then let me ask you this then, and I wish Brian was here.
This is a Brian conversation.
Yeah, this is going to be a Brian conversation. Why do we also, maybe in context to this conversation today, that we've had a great things of possibilities come out of this, why do we let the models of the world of others affect us in the way that we do? It's just like what Carla works for Carla, and I shouldn't take Carla's thing and say, hey, you got to do it Chris's way today because Carla's way, it doesn't work. See, I don't believe in that. See, it's the model of the world that we're seeing it through, and we don't connect to it because, see, what Carla works for her, whether it be in the nursing or in the office, whatever that might have been, say, this is what works for Carla today.
Give me an example.
If you don't realize that, then you're missing out.
Give me an example.
Well, I'll give you a prime example. If you're in the office, Carla, and you got all these charts that you got to fill out and everything like that, and there's tons of people in the office, but yet I come to you as a doctor and say, hey, why are these charts not done? Why is everybody still sitting in the waiting area? Why is this happening? The first thing that I would actually do in the reverse and say, Carla, are you so bombarded that the charts are getting backlogged or people are getting backlogged? What's going on? I would approach it from that dynamic versus the other way around and say, hey, why hasn't this got done? Why hadn't that got done? Because I don't feel that's productive.
It's not.
Oh, and in terms of whatever the situation is, the leader is being kind of accusatory and picking on the negative.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And why hasn't
actually like a lot of charts here. Carla, do you need some help?
What can I do to help you out? Okay.
Right.
And that would be a far better approach. Better approach. And again, if we're working in teams, and generally speaking, we are working in teams, then that's how it works.
Well, number one, patients come first in healthcare.
Of course they do.
There would not be patients sitting in the waiting room. And in the past experience that I came from, it was because you talk too long.
Well,
and we told him that too.
What this just came to mind.
And you're running behind because you talk too darn long. You're allowed 30 minutes. Well, you know how it is. Yeah, we know how it is.
What this just came to mind. Patience for patience.
Well, again, in some situations with some people, Carla, sometimes it takes longer to explain things to them. It just does.
Yes, it does.
It's just, you don't want to hurry them, and you want to make sure that when they leave, they understand whatever it was that you had to tell them so that they'll do whatever you.
Well, I've dealt with that for years. People would come out from talking to the physician. They wouldn't ask their questions to the physician because they were intimidated. And so then when I met with them and I said, here's some information, we're going to do A, B, C, D, and E, out flooded all the questions that they never asked with a physician.
They
And next thing
rarely
you know, I'm
ask
spending
them
another
to
20
do
minutes with them.
Yeah.
And I have been asked before, well, why did it take so long? Because they came out with their eyes spinning and they had a ton of questions that they didn't ask you, that they asked me.
Yeah.
Am I going to just say, nope, your time's up and send them out the way? No way. I had a girlfriend of mine that she unfortunately passed away of breast cancer in 2009. When she was diagnosed, they were going to different oncologists to figure out who they wanted to work with. And she went over to a prominent university here in Atlanta and waited 2.5 hours to speak with the oncologist and was told, okay, I've got 20 minutes. What can I do for you? They literally got up and walked out.
Oh
That's not
my
customer service.
word.
That's not customer service.
No.
So if it means that I take 20 minutes with them while the physician's talking to the next person for 45 minutes, I'm going to do it. And at the end of the day, if there's charts that are sitting there that have to be done, they get done at the end of the day because the patients come first.
Well, and the truth is that patients often don't ask questions of the doctor or the dentist.
They don't. They're intimidated.
They are. And so, like, if they've been given a treatment plan, and then I see them afterwards, so if it was you, would you go with this or would you go with that?
Yeah, they want to know what you do.
Yeah. So, I would tell them, and I would also tell them why I was going to choose that restorative.
Or they both have benefits. They both have, yeah.
It's just a matter of, what works best for you. However, they need to have the information so that they can make an informed decision.
Right.
And if they aren't given the information in a way that they can understand it, there's no way they can make an informed decision, which is why in dentistry, you have hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of work sitting in patients' charts because they haven't moved forward, because they don't know how to make an informed decision, because the dentist hasn't explained things to them well enough.
Yeah.
And I've sat in on treatment presentations, and most of them, not all of them, but most of them don't do a good job. And I told you about one where, he literally verbally explained things. And I said to him after she left, I said, there's no way she can move forward. No.
You can tell by the look on their face. They didn't get it.
Exactly. But he wasn't looking at her face. He's a guy. So, it's a matter of what are you teaching them? And I said to him, don't you have pictures of those restorations? He said, of course I do. I said, well, why didn't you show her pictures? This is what your tooth looks like now. If we do this restoration, it'll look like this. If we do this restoration, it'll look like this. Here's the advantages of this. This is what this cost, and so on and so forth. Because I said to him, you and I know what it is. So I can listen to a verbal description and I know what you're talking about.
Because you've seen the visuals.
It doesn't. Well, yeah, I don't need a visual. I know what it is. But the patient doesn't have a clue.
Yeah.
So by giving them a verbal description, you're not giving them the information they need in order to make an informed decision so they can move forward with the treatment plan.
Mm-hmm.
He looked at me, he says, well, why didn't you interrupt me? I said, I'm not interrupting.
Yeah, right. I'm not interrupting. Yeah.
I would never do that. That makes you look bad.
Yeah.
Said, forget it, not happening. But
beat you over the head with a lookbook.
Yeah. You need to put yourself in the patient's shoes and understand that they don't know any of this stuff. So you have to show them pictures. And, it's again, this is not rocket science. It's a matter of helping them to understand what you are offering them. And if they don't understand what you're offering them, they're not going to do any of it.
Yeah.
They can't.
When I worked in fertility, we used to do phone calls with patients because they get this whole box full of fertility medications and injections that they were going to be doing. And they knew how to do the injections, but their eyes would glass over when they opened up that box, and they were like, holy cow, there's so much stuff in here. And they were so afraid to make heads or tails of it. So we literally walked through the box. Now, first up, you're going to take this bag out. And, well, first I told them, clear off your dining room table. You're going to line everything up. And once they saw it all lined up, they're like, oh, I get it now,
Well, exactly. But it needs to be explained in a way that makes sense to them. And again, with a lot of this stuff, it needs to be visual. I'm sorry. They need to have a visual picture of what the heck you're talking about so they'll be able to move forward with it, because otherwise they can't figure out what the heck you're talking about. And that's why I had so many patients asking me, well, if you were offered this and this, and what I would do is I would just go and get the pamphlets and show them the pictures. Or if I had stuff in the lab where there actually was, a plant of that sort or whatever, I would go and get it. And I said, this is what it would look like. Oh,
I constantly use models or do drawings or whatever. Yeah.
I mean, again, this is not rocket science. It's a matter of understanding that people without a medical or dental background or an engineering background, whatever the heck we're talking to them about, they can't visualize this stuff unless it's drawn or there's a picture or something that they can actually look at and go, oh, now I get it, because now I can see it. Because verbal descriptions are not good for people who don't know what that's supposed to look like. It just isn't helpful to them.
And that's good customer service. It's almost like in the food industry. If you have particular ways that you present the food, if you're new, you just don't tell if it's me, because I'm a visual person. Chris, I wouldn't want you to say, okay, so this is our prep area, and this is a Caesar salad, and we put 5 of these and 6 of these, and we put the dressing on the side and whatever, and this is what it looked like. Give me pictures.
Yeah.
And because people learn differently,
Or let me watch you do it. So I see
or let me watch you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, it's just a matter
of yeah.
That people who don't have that background, whether it's dentistry or medicine or engineering or law, I don't care what it is, if they don't have the background, there's no way they're going to get it when you're using dental ease or medical ease or legal ease or whatever, because they don't know the terminology well enough to know what the heck you're talking about. So it needs to be explained to them in lay terms. And in a lot of situations when we're talking about procedures, pictures are always the best. Show them what it's going to look like. Show them what the steps are in terms of moving forward and how to end up with this device, whatever. Again, it's not really rocket science. It's just a matter of understanding that you've got to explain things to non-dental, medical, engineering, legal people in ways that they can understand it, because they don't understand your terminology. And so it's not helpful to them to use that kind of terminology unless you are prepared to explain it clearly. This word means X, Y, and Z, whatever.
Yeah. And it takes time. But once you have the right tools, you're more efficient in what you're doing. Depending on what, if it's a client that you're spending time with and somebody's got that time management, that what's the word I'm looking for? That unrealistic time manager clock going, that you can give them a pamphlet and whatever and send them out and they can be checked out in 5 minutes. It doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't.
I think for a lot of organizations, especially in healthcare, is patients are going to take their time. They're going to come in. They're going to be late. They're going to sit in the waiting room, maybe, if you're running behind a couple of minutes. And then as soon as they get back, they're going to go, oh, can I go to the restroom real quick? And you're standing there like 10 minutes later and they're still in the restroom. And you're thinking, what are they doing in there? They come out and it just takes time. When management is just like, why are you running behind? Well, they were in the bathroom. I wasn't going to tell them they couldn't go.
No, we don't want them wetting their
What
pants.
are they going to do?
Yeah, exactly. It's just a matter of understanding that if you're talking to your colleagues who have a dental, medical, engineering, legal background, you can use whatever terminology you want because we all know what it is. But when you're talking to people who don't have that background, you might as well be speaking Martian because they just don't get it. I told you the story when I first worked with Nathaniel on the phone, Chris, and how he first looked at my website and told me, the flash page had to go. And then he started talking text speak to me. And I just stopped him because back then I had no idea what that terminology meant. I didn't know about keywords. I didn't know about.
Hey, I never knew what an SEO was until I joined this group.
I never knew what any of that.
And my son's a techie. Don't tell him
Ah.
So I told him, I said, you might as well be speaking Martian to me. I have no idea what you're telling me. So Nathaniel laughed. And I said, just tell me in plain English what you need from me, and I will be very happy to provide it to you. I said, ultimately, down the road, after we've worked together for a while, I will probably know what some of these things are. But right now, I have no clue. So just tell me in plain English what you need from me, and I will be very happy to provide it for you. So he said, okay. And he explained things to me in English, in terminology that I could understand. And then I could provide him with what he needed in order to update my website and, fix the SEO and do the keywords and the backlog, all the stuff, the backlinking and, all that kind of stuff. I know what all that stuff is now. But back then I had zero clue. I had just no idea. And so it's a matter of, getting used to these things because you have to use them, and you do. But initially, I just had no idea what he was saying to me. And, he was talking to me like I was a techie. That doesn't work. It's okay now. I mean, I now know what a lot of that stuff is, and I can listen to the techies talk about a lot of the stuff. I know what it is now. But, 10, 12, 13 years ago, I had no clue what any of that stuff was.
Yeah.
Well,
very steep learning curve, Chris.
Right. Well, see, I think someone's really liking this engagement we're talking about. Her name is April Tribe Block. She actually is a ghostwriter and editor and speaker and podcaster. I would love to, April, if you're watching this right now, we would love to speak to you about this because it is truly inspiring to see people liking what we're talking about here because, see, that's what we're aiming to do. We're aiming to not only to create the conversation for change, but creating the conversation to impact from the influence that we have done from our shared experience and say, hey, maybe there's another way that we can do this in a different way than what you probably may have been used to. It's like, again, we're not going to throw mud on the wall and see if it's going to stick. We don't do that no more. That's not the way of what bringing humanities together is all about because the mud can slide, and then if that's going to be built on a foundation, then the foundation sinks. Then we don't want that to happen. So we are. Like I said, ladies, I just see another way possible. And April, please reach out to me, Sandy, or Carla. We would love to have a great and engaging conversation with you and want you to even be a part of the community that we're building here because that's what we need to do. I truly believe we need to have the conversation to really set up the call to action and say, hey, you know what? We need to take that step up. We need to say, hey, we need to take that stand. We need to take that stand for humanity and say, hey, if I'm going to be done this way in the medical practice, why do I have to take it this way anymore? Is there a different way of doing it? Hey, Carla, is there a better way to run the office better? Okay, let me get with Carla and find out. And if she gives me the tools and insights to really get me to where I need to go, I truly believe that's going to be a wealth of knowledge because then Carla will go to Sandy and say, hey, Sandy, we might be in different practices. You're in the dental office right next door. I know there's going to be people coming from your office to my office. How do we coordinate schedules and all that kind of stuff? And I think that's a beautiful thing when people truly work together.
Absolutely. And there's no reason why you can't, because between medicine and dentistry, there's a lot of common ground. I mean, I used to phone the patient's physician sometimes because, patients are really funny. You ask them what medications they're taking. Well, I take a little yellow pill. Well, that's really helpful to me. I don't know what the yellow pill is. So I phoned the doctor's office and asked, could you please fax over the patient's medications? Because all they know is the color of the pill, which doesn't help us. It's just a matter of I need to know what they're taking, because if we're also introducing medications, I don't want to cause any interactions or, any different kinds of problems. We need to know very specifically what medications they are taking.
And what supplements they're taking.
Exactly. And, for certain situations where people who had, inflammatory heart disease or different kinds of things, sometimes we had to give them prophylactic antibiotics in order to protect them because, the oral cavity has about 350 pretty nasty organisms living in it. And if you're introducing them into the body, they're going to go where it's weak. And one of the most difficult things to treat is a bacterial endocarditis, which is an inflammation of the lining of the heart, because it's very hard to get the medications in there. So you don't want to cause that. So if a patient has, a predisposition for that sort of thing, you want to make sure that they're protected. And I think I told you one day I had a patient come in and I was looking at her, and she had a blood vessel in her eye that had burst. So her whole white of her eye was blood. And I knew she had high blood pressure. So I said to her, when was the last time you went to your doctor and had your blood pressure checked? She said, why? So I handed her a hand mirror, and she went, oh, like she almost had a heart attack. I said, I'm going to phone your doctor. So I did, but we also had a blood pressure cuff. So I went and got that, and I took her blood pressure, and it was literally through the roof. I'm not kidding you. So I phoned the doctor, and I told him that send her right over. I said, okay. So we did, and he put her on some different medications. But it was, it was really scary. But again, we were taught to observe the patient. So I don't just look in the mouth. I look at the face. I look at the way they walk, different kinds of things. And also when I would phone the doctor about things that we were doing, I would lie. And I would tell the doctor that I wasn't cleaning their teeth, but I was doing minor surgery, so that they would really get the picture of what was going on. Because when people don't take very good care of their mouths and you're cleaning their teeth, they bleed all over the place. So, it's a matter of understanding, and you need to get the message across so the doctor will give me the right answer.
And
so
if they're on blood thinners or Plavix or something like that, yeah.
It's a problem. So, these were things that we had to know. And so I had to phone the doctor and, get the answer I needed from him by giving him something that would give him the picture of what I was trying to get across. So it's just a matter of understanding that, a lot of doctors don't really understand dentistry very well. And that's fine. We get it. But, because we are introducing different chemicals and sometimes some medications, we need to know what they're on, because we don't want to cause any drug interactions or give them any other issues that they don't already have. So we needed to clearly know what was going on. And again, because patients often don't know what they're taking. Again, it's a little yellow pill, it's a little blue pill, it's, whatever it is. Well, that's very lovely. And I can get out the PDR, but, sometimes it doesn't tell you what color the pill is either. So, it's just a matter of literally knowing what the medication is, so that we're not causing any interactions that are going to give the patients more problems. And, we had to have those conversations, because they were some patients were good. They knew exactly what they were taking, but a lot of them didn't. And fair enough. And that's why I would just ask the doctor to fax over the list of medications, and we would put it in the patient's chart. So in future, we had the list, and not, a pink pill and a purple pill and a yellow pill, because that's not helpful to us. We need to actually know what the medication is.
All right.
So these were just things that we learned, Chris, because, it was just a matter of not hurting the patient any more than we absolutely had to. So,
Exactly.
let's not cause a medical emergency in the dental office. If we
No, let's don't have that. No, let's don't have that. So, ladies, what would be the call to action today for people who are interested in what we're wanting to do with companies or organizations, or what they can even do themselves? What would that call to action be?
Well, I think you've got to examine what you're doing, Chris. And if you are getting good results and you're not having turnover and your business is doing well and so on, then I think you're probably fine. But if there are some issues and people are leaving and you're not, and customers aren't returning and stuff, I think you need to step back and figure out what's going on, because trust me, it's coming from you. That's usually where it comes from. Yes, sometimes we have difficult people that work for us and, so on and so forth. But by and large, the leadership sets the tone for the organization. And so if you're not setting the right tone, then you're going to have some of these issues. So you need to sit back and examine what you're doing and get some help to be able to do it better, so that you can work more effectively and more respectfully and more supportively and so on and so forth with the people that you work with. And if you can learn how to do that, you're going to have a much happier place, a much more positive place. You'll have far less turnover, and you'll probably have no turnover. And your business will be much more successful, because everybody will be working better. And if that's the case, you'll be making more money and, all sorts of things. It's going to help you to keep your business going for a long period of time. Plus, you'll have happy customers. and they're going to keep coming back. Plus, if they're really happy, they'll tell other people, so they'll send people to you. So, it's one of those spirals that can be very positive, but you need to examine what you're doing. So leaders in organizations and the leadership teams in the organizations need to examine how they are leading their organization. And if they're doing a good job, then everything will be fine. But if they're not, and if people are leaving, and if their bottom line isn't good, and so on and so forth, they need to step back and examine what's going on and get some help.
Carla?
My call to action is on two fronts. If you're in a employee level of leadership, you need to walk the walk and talk the talk. You need to exhibit the type behavior that you want to see in your teammates or the people on your team. And always be wanting to improve yourself. Nobody's perfect. Personal improvement is, to me, paramount. It should be a daily thing. It should be whether you're in leadership or not. And if you are not in an employee level of leadership, you are a leader because you can set an example for the people that you work with. And that comes along, that also includes your own personal development and how you present yourself in the workplace and how you bring yourself to work and how you conduct yourself at work. Always doing what is right, not what is easy. And being a shining example for other people that you work for. Now, if you can't do that, you need to sit back and decide if you're in the right place that you need to be. And if you're not in that place and you're not in agreement with what all's going on, you're not feeling like you're heard, you're not feeling like you're getting any positive feedback, or that no one's open to listening to suggestions, constructive suggestions. Don't always be a complainer and just complain. If you're gonna complain, have a solution too. But to me, it's very important that you find the right place to be.
And that's great calls to action, ladies. That really is.
Negative attitude can really shift the tone of the whole place that you work at.
Oh, yes, it can.
You need to be looking at something else.
Absolutely. And to be more importantly onto that point, it's not the many that we need to impact. It's that one that will turn into many. Because if the leader sets the tone, everyone else will follow that very tone because they see it's engaging. It's really to not only their position to a certain degree, but it goes right into their alignment of who they are as people. And that's a great thing. So, as always, ladies, thank you for being on this journey with me and bringing humanity out not only one person at a time, but one community at a time. And it's going to be a great thing because we're going to serve people and we're going to do it well, because you know what? Doing the right thing is better than doing the wrong thing. And we truly believe that. Absolutely. So thank you so much. And again, April, we would love to have a great and engaging conversation with you. Please reach out to us. I'm also going to probably reach out to you, but like I said, thank you for liking the post today. And thank you so much for joining us today, for sharing here with Sandy. As always, Sandy, you're just hitting home runs left and right. We greatly appreciate you. And tomorrow on Conversations for Humanity, we're actually going to get part 2 of the call to action theme of this week. So it's going to be really nice. And thank you guys. And I will see you tomorrow for Conversations for Humanity. Have a good day, everyone.
See you tomorrow.